Hi darlings and frogs, and welcome to my channel Me and Places. I'm Paulina and I had a break making videos because I was on my vacation. I actually was traveling and I got stuck in Hungary. I'll tell you about that later. Right now I'm back and I want to talk about traveling during the pandemic. It's a very fragile issue at the moment. There are many people who are strongly against any kind of traveling right now. There are people who might not understand what can be even reason to travel at the moment. There is this other side about economics. Many countries are suffering economically because of lack of tourists, because their biggest income is the touristic industry. And I noticed that the governments of different countries try to maintain this balance between caring for people through the industry to let them keep those jobs in the hotels, in the flying companies, at the same time trying to keep them safe and healthy through not spreading the coronavirus. And I believe it's not as black and white and it's not as simple issue as it might seem. Anyway, I had my reasons to travel and I went traveling. And I'm back and I just want to share my experience with you. Mostly about my observations on traveling during the pandemic and also about some things I was expecting, but they happened differently. So starting from the airport, I noticed how empty it was. Guys, I've never seen such an empty airport. This is so weird. Second thing, you are obligated to wear a mask all the time in airport and during your flight also. I was concerned how hard it will be to keep distance in the airport to other passengers, because I remember those long lines and how packed the airplanes usually are. And this time it was really easy to keep distance because there was literally nobody around anywhere where I would go. On the airplane, also, not much people, nobody was sitting near me, nobody was sitting in front of me, and nobody was sitting back to me, and nobody was sitting so that I would see them. I don't know if that's intentional, I don't think so. I think the only intentional thing is not to put unknown people close to each other without any space between them. But I think it's just the fact that not many people are traveling at the moment. First of all, I was flying with Air Baltic, and when you step into the plane you get this kind of basic kit, and this contains a mask, but I must remind you that you need to have a mask already when you enter the plane. So you can use this in a case if, for example, you want to eat and you have to remove your mask. So here is a new mask for you, and also to sanitizer wipes to wipe your hands before you take off the mask and before you put a new one. And also, I was flying through Riga. I had to change my plane in Riga, and when you arrive to Riga you need to write a declaration where you have been for the past 14 days and also where you are gonna be after Latvia. Everybody on a plane had to write such a declaration. The only problem I had in an airplane is that when the airplane arrives and you stand up to pick up your things from the, there are a lot of people standing in line. Okay, not a lot of, the airplane is like half, even more than half empty. There was just few people in the whole airplane. But at that moment, they somehow managed to go in one line and stand really close to each other, waiting to get out. And that was the only moment I had to wait for them to get out so that I can keep the distance. In all other moments in the airport and in the airplane, it was very easy to keep the distance. After that, I arrived to Hungary. And in Hungary, people are obligated to wear masks, so it was wise of me to have a lot of them because you need to use them everywhere. Not everywhere, for example, on a street you don't need to have them, but in all closed spaces like museums, stores, everywhere you need to have them on you. Anyway, this was one difference from Finland, because in Finland we have a recommendation to use a mask in public transport, and that was the only place where I was used to use a mask. So it was a good surprise that in Hungary you need to use them everywhere, and also it was obligatory. You will need to pay some kind of fee if you don't do that. The things I'm telling now are how they were at the moment I was traveling. They already changed by now. So I had few things on my mind that I thought or expected to be one way, and they went different way because of pandemic. First of all, I thought I won't go anywhere. I won't go to any museums, any cafes, any restaurants much. But then I saw how empty they were. I actually went to eat. I went to cafes where I was the only person sitting there. I went to museums after I saw how empty the city was. Second thing is that I actually expected people to be more judgmental and maybe to experience some travel shaming, because I already heard about that a lot before I went on my travel, and I got mentally ready for that. But I must say, people were so welcoming and so happy to see somebody visiting them, because people are living through hard times. They don't have any customers. Probably many of them have issues with even having their restaurants and hotels open. So they were actually really happy that there is somebody traveling. I also planned to spend a lot more money than I usually do. See, usually when I travel through couch surfing, which means I stay with unknown people at their places. And also I love hostels, because you stay in a room with 11 other people. They are all traveling, they all have their stories, and you meet new people, and even if you don't, you still have this feeling that you are traveling, you are on a journey somewhere. And I love that. I love hostels for this. But I decided that on this trip I won't use couch surfing, and I won't use hostels with many people in the same room. I thought that these are the small safety differences I can make in this trip compared to how I usually travel. So I expected to spend a lot more money. I also decided I won't use public transport going from airport to the place where I'm staying. I'm gonna use a private shuttle, and I did both times. But in the end I did not spend as much money as I expected to, because most of the hotels sell their rooms half price, and I found quite cheap places in such a good locations, in the middle of a center, your own room with your own bathroom. And it was again a nice surprise for me. One bad surprise was that you cannot plan anything, and I love planning. I feel safer when I have a plan, even though I don't always end up going by plan, but I just need to have some. And I also like to know what are places to see in advance. So when I'm traveling, I don't need to spend my time on that. I can just go somewhere all the time, and I like that. This time I couldn't do it my way. I planned, of course, in advance, but then all my plans crashed because I was planning to go hiking to the mountains. I was going to go to Budapest, meet my friends, and then continue to mountains in Slovakia or in Slovenia. But while I was in Budapest, Hungary closed their borders, so I had to make a new plan. And I had all my hiking gear with me, so I really wanted to go somewhere. And I ended up actually finding a lot of great places which I would never find if not this situation. Which is a good point. But again, I spent few days thinking and planning where to go next and what to do. And I still prefer to do all the planning, if possible, in advance. So don't expect you can plan everything if you're traveling during pandemic. You won't be able to keep up with all of your plans. Actually, this is all. I don't have any other thoughts on traveling. If you have any thoughts about that, any tips for people who are not traveling or traveling, whatever tips or whatever useful information. Let me know in the comments, and also let me know what is the situation with traveling in your country right now. Thank you so much for watching. In any case, if you're traveling or not, be careful, stay safe, and stay curious, right? Bye!